Hey, what's up? It's me. So, I'm actually in the middle of writing a completely different video right now, but I felt compelled to share my thoughts on the current Switch 2 pricing fiasco. So, these are just some unscripted thoughts and ramblings from a 20-something Nintendo fan in a sea of 20-something Nintendo fans. Gee, aren't I unique? So Nintendo fans have had a hell of a week. Nintendo had their big Switch 2 Direct last week on the 2nd, revealing the console, showcasing more games for it and stuff like that, and it looks amazing. The system and the games all look incredible, or at least Mario Kart World and Donkey Kong Bonanza look incredible. And I think most people are in agreement that this is one of the best directs Nintendo has ever done. It was just great. All the games look fantastic. We're so excited to play it. Or at least we were excited to play it. But the wind has kind of been taken out of our sails because we had to look at the price for ourselves. They did not show the price in the Direct itself, and that was definitely a red flag. That raised some eyebrows. So we went to Nintendo's website, saw the price of the console itself, $450. Now, the price of the system itself, I'm actually fine with. I don't love it. $450 is more expensive than I would have liked it to be. I think an even $400 would have been the perfect sweet spot to make everybody happy, but $450 I can stomach. What I cannot stomach is the price of the games. So it seems that for the vast majority of games, or at least the majority of first-party Nintendo-published games, they are targeting the new normal to be $80 US, which is ungodly. That is an unbelievable price. That is more expensive than they have ever charged for a game in the past, or at least the past 25 years. I don't think games have been that high since the Nintendo 64 era. It's higher than what Sony or Microsoft ask for their first-party published titles. It is an unprecedented price. And by the way, just to clear up some misinformation, which there is a lot of misinformation out there about the Switch 2 and about the pricing, which is insane to me. You would think that Nintendo would want to be on that. Like, they would have, like, everything would be covered in their press releases. They would have gone over everything in the Direct, but no, there's still so much uncertainty around so much of this system, which is very strange to me. But to clear something up, I've seen a lot of people online say that the physical version of Mario Kart World is actually going to be $90, and the digital version is $80. For some regions, I think that is true, but for the US, that is, as far as I can tell, not the case. It's $80 for both the digital and physical here in the US. Again, some regions, there will be that difference, but the US does not seem to be one of those regions. And another thing I want to clear up is the tariff argument. So Nintendo announced that they were delaying pre-orders of the console to see how things shook out with the tariffs. And some people said that, oh, you know, they priced the system and the games the way they did because of tariffs. And that is just wrong. That's just absolutely wrong, because if it were a tariff issue, then the system and the games would only be expensive in the United States. They're expensive everywhere. Every single place, these games are just ungodly expensive. Also, I'm not 100% on this, but I'm pretty sure that if it was a tariff issue, that would only increase the price of the console itself, not the games. I'm unsure on that. I don't know, but I'm pretty sure I read that somewhere. Please correct me if I'm wrong, though. But yeah, asking for $80 for a video game is just no. That's my only reaction. That's the only thing I can say is no. I am not paying $80 for a game. And people are saying, oh, well, we'll wait for the Mario Kart World Direct. They'll show us more of the game, and, you know, maybe then we'll see what makes it worth $80. No! There's nothing you could show me! There is no piece of footage you could put in front of my face. There is no single thing you could show me in this game that would make any game worth $80. There's just nothing. Nothing you could show me would make this game worth $80. No game is worth that much. Also, Mario Kart World is $80, but Donkey Kong Bonanza is $70, which just, that does not compute. That doesn't make sense to me, because you're comparing a kart racer, which I'm not saying Mario Kart doesn't rule, I love Mario Kart, but you're comparing that, which is inherently kind of limited in its scope because it is just a kart racer, to a 3D platformer with destructible environments. And that's the cheaper game? Like, that just doesn't make sense to me. There's a lot about this that doesn't make sense. And the thing is, it's just greed. There's nothing you can say to me that, like, oh, it's the market, it's the economy, it's whatever. No, it's just greed, because Nintendo Switch 1 games are still retailing for $60, or $50 for some of them. And you know, Nintendo has never been consistent with their pricing. I mean, you take a look at a game like Metroid Prime Remastered, which is this incredible, just like intense visual overhaul, complete like just visual upgrade for Metroid Prime, the original GameCube game. You take a look at that, that's $40, right? Then Luigi's Mansion 2 HD, Donkey Kong Country Returns HD, Xenoblade Chronicles X Definitive Edition, remasters of older games still, but like bare bones remasters. All of them are $60. What? Like, so yeah, they've never been consistent. Nintendo's pricing has always been nothing but confusion. So this is just greed. This is just greed, and they're seeing if they can get away with it. So I am saying, don't let them get away with it. These prices for games are downright insulting, and I worry that they are a sign of things to come for games in the future if we choose to buy these things. So don't buy them. You remember just a few months ago, we were seeing headlines that like, oh, GTA 6 might cost $100. Publishers are seeing if they could cost $100. And everyone was like, oh, there's no way. That would be insane. There's no way they would charge that much. And now suddenly, Nintendo is the company to take the plunge on an $80 game. Suddenly $100 for GTA 6 doesn't seem too outside the realm of possibility. I don't want to see that. I'm sure none of you want to see that. So the best way to send the message that we don't want to see that is to not buy it. I will not be buying a Nintendo Switch 2 at launch, and I urge you to do the same. And this is coming from a Nintendo fan, alright? You gotta understand that. I am saying this as a hardcore Nintendo fan. The last video I made was all about collecting for the Wii U. I was playing my Switch this weekend. I just bought some new games for it. I am one of the few people who actually owns and uses Alarmo, okay? I don't think you understand how built different I am. So when I say this, you know I don't say it lightly. Don't buy a Nintendo Switch 2. It's not worth it. Well, I shouldn't say that it's not worth it, because, you know, again, the system looks great, the games look great, but do they look $80 great? I don't think so. And again, you have to vote with your wallet. You remember when the Nintendo 3DS launched, and it was at kind of an expensive price, and there were like no good games for it? Nintendo slashed the price within the first year, and they gave out better deals. I genuinely think that if consumers are smart, which Nintendo fans are not smart, but if we're smart, and we choose not to buy this system, Nintendo will do the same thing. History will repeat itself. We will see them give better deals, and they will say, hey, you know, we heard you. $80 is not the price that these games should go for. I think it's kind of funny and kind of sad looking back now, because, you know, there were all kinds of analysts saying that, like, oh, the Nintendo Switch 2 is going to be Nintendo's biggest launch ever, is going to break all kinds of records, everyone's going to get... And maybe that will still happen. Maybe that will still be the case. But when the games cost $80, I very, very seriously doubt that. And gaming is already an expensive hobby, right? It's been expensive for basically as long as it's been a thing. You're just gonna have to sink a decent chunk of money into it. But $80 is a bridge too far. It's just too much. And again, we all thought that, you know, Tears of the Kingdom was asking for a lot of money when that was $70 back in 2023. But now, like, nah, dude. Nah, $80 for a kart racer. I can't support that. And I encourage you to not support it as well. Also, pre-orders were delayed, so the system might be even more now. You know, I thought $450 was an okay but already kinda high price. Now it could cost even more with the whole tariff situation. Greatest idea ever, by the way. But yeah, so it's just not a good situation. I think the gaming industry is in a very, very odd place where everything is expensive, nothing is going down in price. PS5 is still $500, and now Nintendo Switch 2 is $450. Like, that's not too far away, and the games are even more expensive. It's just not something that's worth supporting. So I strongly, strongly, strongly encourage anyone who can hear my voice. Obviously, like, I'm a tiny creator. I've barely even started creating, but to anybody who can hear my voice and anybody who agrees, anybody who loves video games, do not buy a Nintendo Switch 2. Do not support this. You know, again, gaming is an expensive hobby, and especially for me, as a collector, collecting is an insanely expensive hobby. I am no stranger to spending stupid amounts of money on things that should not be worth stupid amounts of money. But this is from a publisher. You know, that's secondhand. You know, games can add or subtract value over time, and that's determined by the community that surrounds the games and the consoles. But this is just a company charging $80 for video games, and that is not something that I can support. I think that's disgusting. I think it is extremely anti-consumer. It is extremely tone deaf and just not good. I can't support it. I urge you not to support it either. Do not buy a Nintendo Switch 2. Put your money elsewhere. Anyway, thanks for listening to me ramble. I felt kind of conflicted about doing this because I traditionally like to do more scripted stuff, but like I said, I am working on just that right now. I'm writing another video that will also be Nintendo related, but not about video games. So if that interests you, stay tuned. Thanks for listening.